Hi guys, Sasha here again. Today I want to show you how to insert a lifeline into your work. So right now I'm working on this design that's got a lot of stitches. So there are a couple of reasons you might want to use a lifeline. In this case, I've just got a ton of stitches and I'm getting ready to go into the next section of the shawl where I change the pattern and I'm not sure if it's going to work out. So I want to be able to rip back easily if I need to once I get to that point. The other reason you might use a lifeline is to help avoid mistakes. If you get to a point where you know your knitting is correct and you're working, let's say, a complex lace pattern with lots of yarn overs, which can be difficult to pick up if you drop, then you might want to insert a lifeline where you know it's right and then every so often throughout your work. Now, the lifeline is just a piece of scrap or waste yarn, preferably something smooth and easy to work with that you put through your knitting. You need a long piece that will span the whole width of your work. The other thing some people like to use is dental floss because it's nice and smooth and it won't get in your way that much. So when you're inserting a lifeline, I find one of the easiest ways to do it is, especially if you're working with circular needles, is just to scoot your work down past the actual needle part. And then you're going to take this yarn threaded with your through the tapestry needle and just start going through your stitches in the same direction your needle is going. Now, one thing you have to be careful of is you want to avoid any stitch markers. So here I've come to a stitch marker that I'm working on the needle. I'm going to avoid that stitch marker and then go through the next stitch. If I thread my yarn through that stitch marker, it will be stuck on my lifeline, not on my needle and my work. So I want to avoid doing that. So now I just go through all of the stitches on my work and thread this through. Now, I'm not going to do this all in live time because it'll take me a little while for all of the stitches I have, but really this is all there is to it. You can then make sure you've got a little extra on each end, trim that off, and now you just let that lifeline float along with your work as you go and continue on a few rows. Some people like to leave their lifelines in as they work and add more as they go. Some people like to take out the old one once they insert a new one. One other tip is you might want to try to do it on a plain knit row if your pattern has one, because those are the easiest to thread them through. And you also want to make a note of what row you put the lifeline in. If you're working on a charted pattern, an example might be, make a note. I put a lifeline in after row 10. That way when you get back and let's say you do have a mistake and you have to take your work off the needles and then rip back on your lifeline, you know, okay, this is placed where I had just finished row 10 and you'll be all set and ready to go. I find this is also funny too that when I put a lifeline in, I rarely need it, and if I get cocky and don't put one in, that's when I usually make the mistake. So I hope this is helpful and you might find it useful in your own knitting. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.